There are 7 envelopes on my kitchen table this morning, and I am counting them the slow way, with my hands, the way my father counted everything, and I want you to notice something before I say one more word. The house I grew up in ran on 2 bills, maybe 3, and the water that came out of the tap was free, and the music came out of the air for nothing, and the telephone, once you bought it, was yours. And yet here I sit, an ordinary man on a fixed check, looking at a stack of charges for things my grandparents owned outright or got for nothing or never paid for at all because nobody had thought to sell them yet. That is the whole trouble in one breath. Most of what drains your check every month is not the price of a thing. It is the price of being billed for a thing, over and over, forever, for something that used to end. And this is not about coupons. This is not about clipping pennies until your fingers ache. It does not require a budget app. It does not require a spreadsheet. It does not require you to give up one single thing you actually use and love. It requires exactly one thing, and I will say it plain, so you can carry it the rest of your life. You have to know which of these bills you own, and which of these bills own you. Now, somebody is profiting from you not knowing the difference, and I will name them before we are done. But I will tell you right now, there was no secret meeting, nothing so dramatic as that it is quieter, and quieter is worse. Stay with me, because by the end I am going to name all 7 of these, and I am going to tell you which ones to cut tonight before you go to bed, and which ones to leave exactly where they are. And the order is going to matter more than you think. Let me tell you who I am, since you are letting me sit at your table for a few minutes. My name is Yosef Levy. I am an old man now, somewhere past 70, and I was never a rich one. I raised a family on one regular paycheck, the kind that had to be told where to go before it ever arrived. And I learned what I know the long way, by getting it wrong and watching other people get it wrong, and by paying attention, which is the cheapest education there is. We had no investments. We had no inheritance waiting. We had no cushion to speak of, and when the next month was already spoken for and there was nobody to call, you learn fast what $1 is actually for. My father kept a shoebox in the closet, and on the lid he had written one word in pencil, PAID. And into that box went every receipt for everything we owned, free and clear. And I want you to understand why a man would do a strange thing like that. Because it is the key to everything I am about to tell you. He kept that box because a receipt that says PAID is a relationship that has ended. The thing is yours. Nobody is coming back next month. And there was one kind of bill my father refused to ever sign his name to all his life. And I will get to it, but not yet. Because if I tell you now, you will not believe how simple it is. Here is the part most folks get wrong. And I need you to understand this next part, or none of the rest will hold together. So stay with me. When people decide to get thrifty, the very first thing they do is the wrong thing. They go through their accounts in a panic, and they cancel everything, every service, every subscription, every recurring charge, like a man pulling every weed and half his vegetables with them. And that feels good for about a week. But it is a false economy, and I will not lie to you to make you feel clever. Some of those recurring bills are genuinely cheaper than owning the thing yourself. Some of them really do save you money, and if you cut the wrong one, you will turn right around and pay more to replace it. So the trick is not cancel everything. The trick is to learn to tell the two apart. The bill that earns its place from the bill that just sits there feeding. And once you can see the difference, you can never unsee it. And you will look at that stack of envelopes the way I am looking at mine right now. And you will know in about 15 minutes which ones are quietly robbing you. So let me walk you through the 7, not like a list, but the way I would tell it to a neighbor over the fence. The first one is the screens. Once upon a time, you put an antenna on your roof. You paid for it one time, and the pictures came out of the sky for free until the day you died. Now, most homes I know are paying for 3, 4, 5 different services to watch their programs, and each one looked small the day they signed up. $3 here, a few dollars there, and not one of them is large enough to make you angry. And that is exactly the point. That is the whole design. Keep that in mind, because it matters in a minute. The second is the telephone, and this is where it gets good. My father bought a telephone once, and it was a heavy black thing, and it was his. Now, you do not buy the phone, you finance the phone. You pay for it in little pieces folded into a bill, so you never quite see the price of it. And then there is the data, and the data is a river that never stops. And the moment your little payments finish, why, here comes a new phone, and the river starts again. The third one is the one that makes my blood run cold, and it is the fees on your own money. There was a time you kept your money in a passbook, and the bank paid you for the privilege of holding it. Now you pay them. A maintenance fee for the account, a fee if you dip too low, a fee for moving it, a fee that bites when you can least afford the bite, and the cruelest part is that it lands hardest on the people with the least. The overdraft that costs the man with $12 far more than it costs the man with 12,000. The fourth is the cloud. This storage you rent every month to hold your own photographs, your own letters, your own life, the way you would once have kept a drawer of pictures in your own house for nothing. The fifth is the water, and I want you to sit with this one. There are good people paying every month to have water delivered in bottles to a house that already has water coming out of every faucet, clean and tested and nearly free. And I am not here to shame a soul, but I am here to tell you the truth. The sixth is the protection, the extended warranties and the device plans, the small monthly sum you pay against the chance that a thing might break. And I will be honest with you in a minute about those because they are not all the same. And the seventh is the quietest killer of all. And it is the buy now, pay later and the interest you carry on a card from 1 month into the next, because that, my friend, is a recurring bill too, only it wears a disguise. It does not come with its own envelope. It hides inside all the others. Now here is what nobody teaches anymore. And this is the part I promised you at the start, the part about why your check vanishes before the month is even out. And it is not the cost of any one of these things. It is something that was done to the very way you pay on purpose. And I can tell you nearly the shape of when it changed. Somewhere along the line, the people who sell things figured out a simple truth that changed your whole life without your permission. A customer who pays once is worth less than a customer who pays forever. That is it. That is the engine under all 7. Selling you a thing ends the relationship. Renting you the thing, billing you a little every month, that keeps the relationship alive for them. And once that idea got loose, everything that could be turned from a purchase into a subscription got turned. The music, the movies, the telephone, the software, the storage, even the water. Because the genius of it is that no single charge is ever big enough to make you stop and cancel. $100 mistake you would notice. You would chase it down. But $4, $6, $9, scattered across a dozen quiet little withdrawals, those slide right past you, month after month, year after year, and they add up to real money walking out of a fixed check that cannot spare it. Now, I told you I would be fair, and I meant it. So here is the calibrated truth. I do not believe a group of men sat in a back room and plotted to drain your account. It is nothing so exciting as that. It is quieter, and the quiet is the danger. Nobody who profits from your forgetting has the first reason in the world to remind you to cancel. That is all. There is no profit in a family that wastes nothing, and there is enormous profit in a family that never looks too closely. I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me, so I will not dress that up into a villain with a mustache. It is just economics. doing what economics does when nobody is watching the till. So now you know the why. Let me give you the how. Because knowing without doing is just worry with extra steps. Here is the whole system, and you can do it tonight at this same kitchen table. You take one statement, 1 month of your bank or your card, the real one, printed or on the screen, and you take one highlighter and you make 3 columns in your head. Column 1, I use this and I would miss it. Column 2, I could own a cheaper version of this or do without it once. Column 3, I forgot I was even paying for this. And you go down the list, line by line, slow, with your hands the way my father did, and you sort every recurring charge into one of those 3. The third column, the things you forgot you were paying for, those you cancel before you sleep. Tonight, no debate, because a thing you forgot you had is a thing you were not using. The second column you fix over the next month, one at a time, no rush. The first column you leave alone and you stop feeling guilty about, because a bill that earns its place has earned its place. And then, twice a year, you do one more small thing. You read the renewal dates, the little lines that say, this will renew automatically, and you read them in the daylight when you are not tired. Because the whole trick of an auto-renewal is that it is a yes you only had to say one time, years ago, and it keeps saying yes for you long after you have forgotten you spoke. Now I owe you some honesty, because honesty is the only thing I am really selling here. Not everything on that list is a villain, and a man who tells you to cancel all 7 is a man who has not lived on a tight check, because some of these recurring bills are the cheaper way, not the dearer one. That streaming service might genuinely cost less than owning a shelf of films you watch once. That protection plan on a thing you truly depend on might be the wise bet, not the foolish one. So here is the limit plainly. This whole habit will not save a budget that is broken by the big walls, the rent, the medicine, the doctor. I will not stand here and tell you that cancelling a water delivery will fix a month where the rent itself is the problem, because that would be a lie, and the silent drains are not the wall. This habit is for the leak, not the flood. And here is the one caution I refuse to skip, the corner I will not let you cut. Do not, in the heat of feeling thrifty, cancel a thing you actually depend on. Do not cut the insurance you need. Do not cut the medication that keeps you well. Do not cut the service that lets your children reach you, just to feel the small thrill of having cancelled something. And before you cut anything, look for the cancellation fee, the contract that bites you on the way out the door. Because some of these are built so that leaving costs you too, and you want to walk out clean, not pay a toll to escape. I would rather you keep one bill that earns its keep than cancel 10 in a hurry and lose the one thing you needed. That is the honesty mechanic. That is the whole of me. I will tell you what is true even when it costs me the easy applause. Now let me pay off a promise. Because I told you my father refused to sign his name to one kind of bill his whole life, and here it is. He would never, ever agree to a charge that renewed on its own. Not once. If a thing could not be bought and finished, bought and closed, bought and dropped into that shoebox marked PAID, he did not want it in his house. People thought he was old-fashioned. I think he understood something the rest of us are only now learning the hard way, which is that the most expensive word in the English language is not dollars, it is automatically. So let me widen this out, because it is bigger than 7 envelopes on a table. Comfort is not the same thing as security, no matter how the advertisements blur the line. Convenience is not the same thing as freedom, though they are sold to you in the very same breath. And looking prosperous, all the little subscriptions and services that make a life feel full and modern and effortless, that is not the same thing as being unreachable, as being a person whose month is not already spent before it starts. The old way was not about having less for its own sake. It was about owning what you had all the way, so that no one had a string tied to your wrist that they could pull every 30 days. So here is what to do, and it is small enough to do tomorrow. You take one statement, you take one highlighter, you make your 3 columns, use it, own it cheaper, forgot it. You cancel the forgotten ones before you sleep, you fix the second column over a month, you leave the earners alone, and you read your renewal dates twice a year in the daylight. That is the entire method, and it costs you 15 minutes and the price of nothing, and it puts real recurring money back into a check that needs every dollar of it. What you keep has always mattered more than what you earn. My people knew that when they had almost nothing, and it is just as true now that we are surrounded by so much. The old hands were not smarter than us. They were just harder to fool, because they had been fooled before and could not afford to be again. So I will leave you with a question, and I would truly like to know, because I read what you write to me. Which of these 7 is sitting on your own table right now, and which is the one you will never give up? No matter what I say, tell me, because the answer tells me who you are. And before you go, let me leave one envelope unopened, because there is another habit I want to show you next time, and it is a slippery one. Next time I am going to tell you about the expense that looks like thrift, the thing that wears the costume of saving money while it quietly costs you the most of all the discount. That is not a discount, the deal that was built to be taken, but that is for next time. For now, you keep what is yours, spend less than you earn, and keep what's yours.